We are a full-fledged brokerage firm. Although our background originally started with Farmers Insurance, but we've expanded out because of the contracts that we have the ability to be independent as well. I tell you this because of the fact that we live on the principle that I just hate saying no. I hate saying, I'm like the widget, I just keep moving it until it fits. And if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. We get to a realization of whatever didn't work, just don't do it again, right? And so since then, we have been privileged and honored to be able to be part of the industry. We've been ranked in the top 1% in the nation for probably about 6 out of the last 13 years or so. Through that, just recently in 2014, I've been privileged enough to be nominated as one of the CEOs for 40 under 40 within Houston, Texas by the HBJ. Outside of that, about 4.5 years ago, through an organization, I found a gap with the necessity of need, and the gap was within the areas of capital, human capital, and resources. And one of the things which, in the folder that you have in front of you, talks about is a company that I also own, is called Redstone Business Holdings, and we are a holding company that deals with mergers and acquisitions within the areas of capital, consulting, heavily within the IT realm, and then secondly, and then obviously from that we deal with business development, and then we have the natural resources and the commodity world within the oil and gas business. So that's a little bit about myself, about what it is. We're privileged here to be here to talk to you. Thank you, Brian, for having me. How do I start it up? Slideshow. Brian, can you help me with this?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not really. So to start off with, I started with that video specifically because I wanted to make an impact with respects to something that you already know. In addition to that, I also wanted to talk to you about, with respects to the insurance, that we're still learning. I mean, this industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that ultimately puts us in a situation where puts us in an industry where we are lacking in data. One of the biggest problems that the insurers are having is this: it's the prime reason for struggle for the cyber risk is historic data. There's very little compared to the market, compared to the industry. So what ends up happening is between the insurance carriers we represent, which is the AIGs, the Hartfords, and the Farmers, and all the big companies out there, is us being able to work with them as not only the principals and the insurance agencies to work with our clients to be able to assist them and be able to get historic data not only on the company but also on the industry, so that they can come in and do models that be able to assist them. One of the largest percentage of cyber losses are even acknowledged on the outside employees. One of the biggest points here is the fact that majority of the reason why the insurance industry doesn't know how to properly price this in today's world is because of the fact that in our companies, we have so many things going on, but the lack of actually reporting it is probably the biggest issue. And it's those unknowns because we either are not, it's not in our process and procedures. One of the things I completely enjoyed about what I heard today in the tour, which was completely expected of like who they are, I had no idea what they were, was if you heard that the company individual, the owner, was involved from start to finish, but then they also cross-pollinated as far as how and who does what and what not. Not to say that that's what we need to do, but it's just a reminder of some of the things we probably should be doing.
Last question.
That being said, the dearth of cyber insurance. One of the biggest things is that the dearth of data leads to vicious circle of the cyber insurance industry. One of the biggest things that we'll talk about is, like, for example, the insurers haven't collected critical mass losses for the data that they own. Large percentages of cyber events go unreported, which, as we talked about. And I can't tell you enough, because oh, okay, I clicked it, it didn't work. Let me start and turn off the computer again, because it'll reboot, right? And then cyber attacks are consistently evolving, making exposure difficult to anticipate. Insufficient data undermines insurance confidence, which then in turn, insurers cautiously offer moderate limits to resist coverage. How do we mitigate this? Especially with each industry, which is so different. I can't necessarily say that what you do and what you do is necessarily the same, or vice versa. And so to be able to mitigate what that exposure is huge. It goes on to say that the buyers doubt coverage value, lowering the take-up rate market penetration for the industry. which is obviously going to be determined upon what you as a company in today's world allow us to arm ourselves to properly rate you. And it's huge. And we'll go into that a little bit later. Lowering sales, less access means less data, which means it makes it harder for the industry to actually rate you as an industry. Other cyber events such as denial for access, ransomware, theft, and intellectual property are often kept under wraps. Well, I can tell you this. For me, I'm a victim. So about 6.5 months ago, I received an email. So I was hiring through our firm. And I received an email, and that email came in and was a resume and said, hey, I'm interested. I saw your posting. I'm interested. I clicked on it, and basically then it went to say, okay, please type in this code, 1234. I'm like, okay, I must be getting old because this is a new way of actually sending resumes. Well, I put in those 4 digits. Next thing you know, within 10, 14 hours, my whole surface was completely taken over. Basically, they were asking for ransom to be able to get the data back. Well, luckily enough, it wasn't connected to my server at that time, and so what we ended up doing is just losing the data that I had. Luckily enough, we back up everything every 24 hours, and without that, I can promise you this, that it would have been catastrophic for us. Because the reality is, I've always seen commercials like this, but it was never something that I was really concerned about or worried about at the time.
Jason, would you have reported it?
You know, I don't think so, because I didn't think it was that important,
Yeah.
right? Because
I would say it's a little embarrassing.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's why it's not reported.
Yeah.
It's right part of it.
because the reality, I mean, you think
Nobody
about it, it's
does
like,
a job.
I don't want to, sure, that doesn't
Happy,
happen to me,
yeah.
right? So, yeah, no, absolutely. A great question, because that's the reality. And that's really the lesson learned, and that's why I got into the cyber insurance realm, because it is a huge gap in the industry, it's a huge necessity, and there's a huge opportunity to create education. And I'll show you in a little bit exactly why our team is going to be selected, positioned right in the market. That being said, the insurer's perspective, the dearth of data, the lack of data, cyber attacks keep evolving, potential catastrophic accumulation, tunnel vision based upon what they're really focusing on is from the insurers. With the consumer perspective, the buyers don't understand the coverages, what's actually covered, what's not, and it's always being adapted and adjusted for that. Cyber risk is spread over a wide range of coverages. Well, specifically, again, every company is different. The needs and wants and the reality is different. The legal landscape remains in flux, and that's probably the biggest thing, because that's something that you have to be aware of. Because at the end of the day, not to say that attorneys are bad, because Lord knows I have them, but the reality is the fact that that is probably one of the largest expenses that most insurance carriers and business consumers don't realize where the money goes to. So you may be asking yourself, well, I will worry about it later. That was me. And then I will send out a company request to the staff to basically give a process procedure of the new ways of operating, things to be aware of, but then it stops from there. There's no accountability. Or you may be saying, it just won't happen to me because I'm a computer guy and I'm comfortable with it. I know what I should be doing. It's not about you. And that's the legitimate question and understanding. It is not about you. It's about the people that work for you. It's about the people that you represent. It's about the responsibility, socially, economically, and the impact to the community that you're involved in, that ultimately we have to stop it at ourselves. So the question is, what are you doing today to mitigate your exposure to cyber theft in your company? And that's really a question I have for you today. So one of the things that we wanted to do is to kind of give you some case studies. So here's give you some examples of different industries that we actually have vetted, have worked with, and have in addition to that, quoted out and bid it out. So we have healthcare from $500,000 in revenue, $1 million in coverage of $1,000. A fiber optics communication provider, $35 million, $10 million in coverage for $47,000. This is annually. Healthcare, $400,000, $1,200. You have an IT solution integrator, $200 million, $5 million in coverage, $41,500. Financial industry, you have about $100 million limits of $1 million, $37,000 annually. You've got to understand it. Just because you're in a specific industry, the numbers, just because you have $1 million in coverage, you make certain revenue, that's only part of the puzzle. Insurance at the end of the day is based upon the annual revenue of a company, based upon the number of individuals that you have that work for you, and then everything in between that exposes you to liability. The problem, again, and I'll reiterate, is the fact that we don't know what this industry looks like just yet. We are still working to collect that data. So what we do as a firm is to be able to work alongside with you to be able to find out who you are, how it works, how it ticks, where are the mitigating areas, so that we can make sure that you put quality control programs and processes in place to make sure that we have armed data to go to underwriters and actually educate them of who you are, what you're about, and why you are a risk they want to take. And all of those measures that you do internally allow us to go into a company to be able to truly be able to go to bat for you, to be able to reduce the rates. Questions to think about. All right, so inquire about the cyber insurance today. After all, you're buying insurance coverage to cover the cyber attacks, data theft, loss, damage claims, and you want to make sure that the policy covers for such events. So some of the questions that we have here for you is, for example, is what am I doing today to avoid, mitigate, and protect the data I am responsible for the clients? Have I implemented a quality control program in my company? Who is ultimately responsible for the information provided to me? Think about that. The third party, if a third party asks your employee on what the process is when they see an email attached that looks funny, does not look right, what would they say? Does your company actually abide by the red flag laws? Real quick question. Does everybody know about what red flag laws are? Have you ever heard of it?
Mm-hmm. Only because you sent it to me.
Okay. So this is something that's truly alarming. And something that I would probably say 9.5 out of 10 companies that I speak to don't even know what they're talking about. Don't even know what it is. And this is the part where you really need to be educated on. This is where I'm asking you, with totally humbly and respectfully, that you need to spend some time actually looking into this. Specifically, if you're taking data in that is sensitive, that you have the ability that is proprietary, especially your IP, and being able to go and allowing somebody to hack it and basically causing harm to somebody that you're dealing with. So it states here, through the Federal Trade Commission, that the red flag laws is a red flag, as it states here in the middle, it says red flag laws requires many businesses and organizations to implement a written identity theft prevention program designed to detect the red flags of identity theft for their day-to-day operations. Take steps to prevent crime, mitigate its damages. The bottom line is that they need to basically put this in process. One of the services that we provide is we actually work with a team to be able to actually come out to your office and to your company to do an assessment. And that is what we provide that service to, specifically to educate your staff and your team, either your management and or directly to your employees, doesn't matter what level, to understanding what they have to do to comply with the actual red flag laws. Why do we do this? Because of the fact that once we do that, there's basically a certification that you said that you've completed it, you understand, and you have the ability to show that to the insurance company. That's the value that we bring in. In addition to that, we put together insurance policies to be able to mitigate and prevent that. You talk to any attorney, it's the ability for you to put measures in place to see that you actually did what you could to prevent the situation happening. But I will promise you this, it doesn't stop from someone suing you. And it doesn't mean that you won't get sued or you won't lose on the case. What this will do is basically mitigate the amount of exposure that you have to your company.
What's the name of the certification that you get?
It's basically the certification through Legal Shield. There's an organization that does nothing but
Yeah, Legal Shield, familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we partnered up with them specifically to go and do the educational platform for them. When you get a moment, please visit my site. It's jasonjimenez.com. We are a full-fledged brokerage firm. We're based out of Houston, Texas, but we operate throughout the state of Texas. And through that, what I wanted to share with you in this folder today was on this side, basically on where we have some sort of products and services. And what I will do is I have your business cards, And what I've done is I basically took a snapshot of some basic coverages of what an insurance policy for cyber insurance would actually cover. And then what we'll do is I'll send you that information, and then I'll also send you some more data based upon some of the things that we would need in order to actually shop your industry. We would sit down with you, sit down with your clients. This is the other thing. If you're in the sales side, we can be part of that process. Our world and being able to work with Brian is to be able to align ourselves to come in and sell a product and then come along with this as an added value. Because if I can provide those services, then what it provides to you is what? Is the ability to lower costs, lower insurance premiums, where they can reallocate those funds to basically purchase the products and services that you sell. That's one of the values that we bring. On the other side, I am very proud and very honored to talk to you about a colleague of mine. He is, and on the right-hand side, there is a white paper. As I mentioned to you, I own a company called Redstone, and Redstone basically is a company that has a specific silo that is within the consulting realm. This gentleman right here, his name is Russell Stalters. We are honored to have him. He's our director of consulting. To give you a little background about him, he used to be the chief information officer for the U.S. Navy for multiple years. From that, he ended up owning some IT firms, and he sold off right after the dot-com boom. And then before he came on board with us, he was the chief architect and information officer for BP, and he was solely responsible for the architectural and data information for the BP oil spill. I tell you this not to impress you, but to impress upon the fact that from the very top, and one of the skill sets that we've been very privileged on is to bringing great talent to be able to come along to companies and consult with them, to be able to work with companies like Brian, to be able to assess them, to understand where they are working with, what they're doing well in, where are they lacking, and then creating solutions around it. And because of the fact that ultimately for what we do is realistically, is really, we're trying to save the business. We're trying to make sure that we allow you to grow. So, that being said, I ask you to please read the white paper. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is an incredible read, and it gives you the ability to understand a little bit what we do. So, that being said, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, that's a good transition point. So, interestingly enough, Russ is actually the one that brought us together.
That's right.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So Russ is actually a special advisor to Nocserv, and so we got Jason and I together for this presentation. Speaking of Nocserv, you might be curious, what is this Nocserv? What is this cloud? Why cybersecurity? Why are we at Katz Coffee? So I'm going to quickly go through that, and then we can leave time for questions or further discussion. We didn't mention earlier, but we're on Facebook Live. I had a few people that said that they couldn't make it, but if you put it online, we'll join you. So Nocserv, this is my company, the founder, CEO of Nocserv. We launched last year, and really what we're into is systems management for small businesses. That's help desk, tech support, remote systems management. Of course, that's somewhat commoditized these days, and so really we had to think about what additional value can we bring. And this area of cybersecurity is one place I really think we can make a difference for some of our clients, and can really make a maximum impact as far as their how their business operates, protecting these clients, and as he mentioned, providing that education is a big part of what we do. So again, just kind of going through this, founded in 2016, we're privately held. We're in Greenway Plaza, over Route 59, professional IT services company, managed services, IT consulting, solution, and project delivery. Our name, I get this question a lot. Nocserv comes from Network Operations Center, or NOC. Some of you guys in the industry probably know this. And then serve, as in service, we have Nocserv. Okay. So what I really want to highlight was how we approach cybersecurity. So we have an offering which is called Managed Defense and Response. And as Jason mentioned, education. There's stats out there, you'll hear somewhere between 90 and 95% of these incidents occur within your staff, your employees, whether that's malicious or just most of the time negligence. So if we can provide that education, whether it's cybersecurity insurance with Jason's firm, or coming in and providing them information about what to click on, what not to click on, what the procedures are, if you see something suspicious, and help our clients prepare for those types of incidents and threats. The next piece is protect and manage, which is kind of the day in, day out management of their cybersecurity environment. We have Network Box here. These guys are one of the best in the industry at providing these types of services who we can partner with. Our role in this is really protecting the perimeter. That's the managed antivirus, making sure that firewalls are up to date, and then it's the appropriate firewalls, and then again, making sure that we're helping enforce policies and procedures within the companies that we work for. And that's that added value that Jason talks about that we try to bring to our clients. The last thing, which is a little bit different than you'll hear in the industry, is our respond and learn. So we've created partnerships with some attorneys, law firms that specialize in reacting to these types of attacks. Also PR firms. At a certain level, you're required by the state of Texas and federally to go to the press. Again, going back to that embarrassing factor, if it gets to a certain point, you don't have a choice. And so we want to make sure that our clients know how to handle that, because you don't have time to think about it, and you probably don't have a process in place to deal with it. So we try to make sure that our clients have that prepared, because just like Russ's article, it's not if, it's when, okay? So we can have all the education, we can have all the systems in place, and something can still happen. It's the wolf, right? If these targeted attacks, they can be very clever, and we just want to make sure that our customers know that we've got their back. Did you put the underwriting in the folder?
I basically, that's something I'm going to be emailing to.
Okay, you're going to be emailing too. So the reason I put this event together and working with Jason is the premise was, look, we can go through instead of going through this process directly with your insurance agent, let's put a little thought into this. Let's put some strategy into this. And so essentially, just like your life insurance, they're going to be checking the health of your company. And there's certain things that they're looking for. And you have the ability to, in some cases, fairly quickly be able to check yes where you otherwise would be able to check no with some consulting services, potentially adding a new device. So some of the things that we can do in advance of you signing a contract for your cyber insurance, which at this point everybody should be considering, and a lot of industries are required. And that's going to become more and more of a requirement as time goes on. And so, certain things that we can do is help you with your writing your policies and procedures for your organization. As I mentioned, we provide firewall and antivirus solutions. We can not only help you size and design those solutions, but also deliver them with our professional services. One of the biggest services we provide as a managed service provider is safely onboarding and offboarding employees and contractors. Right. So if somebody leaves, and especially if they leave on bad terms, we want to get them out of your systems and get your data back as quickly as possible, so we provide those services. Same thing goes with contractors. These are people outside of the organization that might have access to certain systems. We want them offboarded as quickly as possible. Credit card transactions, of course, PCI compliance comes into play there. We can help with PCI audits and things of that nature. Data encryption, that's huge, right? So making sure that all of your data can only be accessed by the people that need to be accessing it. Backup and disaster recovery, which Jason gave a story earlier, which is a great reason. People don't necessarily connect cybersecurity and data backup, but in a ransomware situation, gee, wouldn't it be nice to go back 24 hours and lose 24 hours of work as opposed to going through that whole process of paying a ransom or trying other tactics, right? And then lastly, website content controls, and I know Network Box has some pretty good solutions for that as well. So he's going to email to you, but you can actually go through and look at what the underwriters are looking for. And if there's things in there that you're checking no, that's a great opportunity to call us, call Jason, and we can try to help you understand a better way to get that. And the concept is potentially the savings in your annual premium could easily be paid for by better protecting your company and putting some of these controls and systems in place. Okay. Pretty powerful. So one of the things that we offer is a free cybersecurity assessment. We've got a network analyzer tool as well as a cybersecurity module we can put onto that. PCI, HIPAA. We can go out and do this quickly, non-disruptive to your organization to give you sort of an idea and an audit of what your current security posture is. And then we have data where we can start making some decisions as to the best way to approach cybersecurity for your company. That's all that I have. I've got some deliverables here that explain that a little bit more. You can actually sign up for one of these at nocserv.com. Get started. Again, my name is Brian Ginger with Nocserv. Thank you very much, Jason Jimenez, Jason Jimenez Insurance, and Redstone Holdings, of course. And appreciate y'all coming out. If If you have any questions or want to hang out, we'll be here, and you'll have a great day, okay?
Okay, I have a question.
Quick hold.
I have a question, with respects to, do y'all take credit cards for the services you provide?